Me 27, got a fancy degree in poetry. Nobody asked for living in a massive loft inside an old firehouse, paying $3,200 a month. Parents foot the whole bill. Dad runs a decent-sized HVAC company. He's the textbook boomer, golf shirts, khaki pants, always harping on about overhead and elbow grease. Sunday brunch with them is a special kind of hell. Dad grills me about getting a real job. I tell him I'm a cultural curator and freelance philosopher. He rolls his eyes so hard, I swear he's gonna pull a muscle. Mom just sips her mimosa and asks if I'm seeing anyone nice. Greater than I tell her, my main goal is dismantling the system. Greater than. Decided I gotta prove these fossils wrong. Greater than. Gonna start some kind of radical anti-corporate coffee joint. Greater than. Down with the Starbucks and the Pete's and all that crap. Greater than. My place will be a sanctuary for actual free thinkers and revolutionaries. Spend 10 days hunched over my laptop, writing a manifesto. Projecting zero income, but massive cultural impact, obviously. Head down to Dad's den to pitch him. Tell him I've got a ground floor opportunity for him. He crosses his arms, asks if it's another app for organic kale seeds. Tell him it's a physical café called The Vanguard. Pitch the whole worker-owned, pay-what-you-can pastry vibe. Dad whips out his calculator and puts on his reading glasses, says food service is a death trap. Most places go under in months. Talks about razor-thin margins and needing thousands of customers. I tell him it's about building a community, not just selling coffee. He sighs, asks for the bottom line. I ask for $120,000, an advance on my inheritance. We yell at each other for like 40 minutes, settle on an $85,000 interest-free loan. The catch, if it fails, I have to work as a dispatcher at his HVAC office. Literal nightmare fuel, but I shake his hand anyway. So, yeah, officially a business owner, greater than start scouting locations with this real estate guy. Todd greater than dude's got slicked back hair and only talks about commissions greater than keeps pushing these suburban strip malls with good parking. Talks about commuter traffic until I feel sick, greater than tell him I need grit, not some corporate cookie-cutter box. He drives me out to the old industrial district, just empty brick buildings and some sketchy vape shops. Unlocks this old auto body garage, 2,500 square feet. Exposed brick, cracked concrete floors, smells like old oil and stale beer, greater than it's got character, though greater than asking price. $3,800 a month. Triple net. Greater than Dad texts me to have his lawyer look over the lease, greater than I, leave him on red and sign the damn thing, greater than. Standing on the hood of Todd's car, the graffiti on the garage door spoke to me greater than the Vanguard, real need. Apparently they make some top-tier espresso machines greater than Reddit, says the Slayer. Espresso is the bomb, greater than dropped $16,000 on a matte black 2-group Slayer machine. Dad leaves a voicemail, asking why my card got flagged for a 16-grand purchase. I explain it's the heart of the operation, like his fancy compressors. He grunts but backs off a bit. Scored 10 mid-century modern sofas from a flea market. They look awesome, but reek of cat pee and old cigars, greater than dropped $800 getting them professionally steam cleaned, greater than set up an anarchist literature corner in the back with Chomsky, Kropotkin, and Marx, greater than hung a neon sign that says, question everything, greater than. The restrooms are completely non-binary, by the way. Ripped out the mirrors, they just enforce societal beauty standards. Put dry erase boards on the back of the doors, instead. For radical self-expression, you know. The build-out took an extra month and blew through cash. Already $60,000 in the hole before we even brewed a cup. Through job listings on Reddit and local Discord servers, greater than seeking anti-establishment coffee artists. I must hate billionaires and care about aura more than ROI. Got 40 replies. Interviewed them by asking them to critique capitalism. Picked my crew of 3. First up, Chloe, 23F, dropped out of film school. Told me during the interview that punching a clock is modern slavery love. Hired her on the spot. Asked for $26 an hour. I said yes, because exploitation is a sin. Second, River, 25, non-binary, local tarot reader. Won't touch the register during Mercury retrograde. claims they can sense the traumatic energy in roasted beans, brought them on as the spiritual director. Third, Mark, 28, the token normie. History degree, wears flannel even in the summer, super meek, said he wants to decenter his privilege, made him do the trash and mop the floors to build character. Opening day arrives, and I have zero clue how to pull a shot. Thought it was just pushing buttons. Chloe has some experience but refuses to use a timer. Says, strict measurements kill the soul of the bean. The coffee tastes like burnt rubber. Mark secretly watched a bunch of YouTube tutorials, learned how to calibrate water pressure and dial it in. Tries to give me a quick tutorial on the machine. I snap at him, I don't need a corporate seminar in my own shop. He looks down at his shoes, mumbles an apology. Spend a long weekend doing trust exercises and unpacking childhood traumas in a circle. Feel like a modern visionary, ready to change the world. Official launch day, September 12th. Nice, breezy fall morning, perfect for hot drinks. Dad sends over a giant potted ficus with a card. Keep your head down and hustle. Love, Dad. Shove it in the broom closet. Corporate hustle culture is toxic. Turn the deadbolt at 6 a.m. Chloe is a no-show. River is MIA. Mark is already there at 5:45, wiping down the steam wands. Take a picture in front of the Question Everything neon sign. Throw it on TikTok with the caption, "The new paradigm starts today." 6:30 a.m., our first walk-in arrives. Sanitation worker in a neon green hoodie, probably just got off a night shift. Looks exhausted, asks for a large dark roast and a blueberry muffin. Put on my best customer service smile. Tell him we reject processed sugar but have gluten-free seed loaves. He shrugs, asks for the large drip. Mark reaches for a cup, but I push him aside. Gotta handle our first transaction personally. Tap the screen, say it comes out to $5.25. The garbage guy stares at me, asks if I'm serious about $5 for a cup of joe. Explain it's micro lot, ethically sourced beans from a cooperative in Guatemala. He pulls out 4 crumpled $1 bills, says that's all he has. Tell him firmly, our prices reflect a living wage and cannot be negotiated. He glances at the coffee, then back at me. Mumbles, he'll just hit up 7-Eleven and walks out. Mark looks stressed, asks if we should have just taken the $4. Lecture him about never compromising the value of our labor. By 9 a.m., we've served exactly 5 beverages, mostly to guys from my MFA cohort who came to virtue signal. Chloe strolls in 2 hours late, claims her bike tire was low on karma. Let it slide, her aesthetic perfectly matches the espresso machine. 11:30 a.m., a wave of tech startup bros from the co-working space down the street, dressed in Patagonia, vests, and smart watches. Exactly the demographic we need to extract wealth from. They order complicated macchiatos and pour-overs. Chloe's running the machine, moving like she's underwater. Literally pauses between pulling shots to scroll. Instagram, line goes out the door. A guy in a vest asks if his almond milk latte is almost ready. Chloe glares at him, says, "Time is a social construct." Customer physically groans. Drinks finally hit the counter, but they're tepid because she let the milk sit. Tech bros take a sip, grimace, and leave their half-full cups on the tables. Close out the till. End of day 1. Gross revenue $315. Payroll for the shift $510, greater than, convince myself these are just growing pains greater than dad texts. Asks what the gross was, greater than reply. Amazing foot traffic, really establishing our footprint. Greater than, by week 4, the romanticism is dead. Greater than rent of $3,800 is looming. Greater than power bill is astronomical. The building has zero insulation. Bleeding roughly $250 a day. Customer base is erratic. Neighborhood locals avoid us. We're expensive and condescending. Google reviews are brutal. Espresso tastes like lemon juice. Baristas roll their eyes. I aggressively reply to every single one. Tell them their taste buds are ruined by corporate syrup, and my staff's emotional boundaries come before their convenience. Greater than, feel like a martyr on the front lines. Greater than personnel is a nightmare. Greater than River, calls in sick constantly, blames the moon and Capricorn and draining machinery auras. forces me to jump behind the counter. Discover that working food service for 9 hours straight destroys your lower back. Mark is basically keeping the doors open, scrubs toilets, sweeps the patio, runs the dishwasher, greater than start, getting incredibly annoyed by his relentless work ethic, greater than feels. Like a passive-aggressive critique of my leadership, greater than snap at him on a Tuesday. Tell him he doesn't need to mop the floor with such aggressive colonial energy. Greater than he looks bewildered says, the floor was sticky. Tell him to go take a break and decompress. He goes to the break room and stares at the wall. Catch Chloe slipping a $7 artisanal matcha cookie into her jacket pocket. Pull her aside. Tell her that's business property. Says she had low blood sugar. Asks if I'm seriously prioritizing capital over her biological needs. Calls it fascist behavior. My brain short circuits. Refuse to be labeled an oppressor. Back down. Tell her to just let me know. Next time. Gives me a smug little nod. Completely owned in my own shop. Late October, pouring rain outside, not a single customer in the building, sitting on one of the moldy couches, scrolling Reddit. Greater than the feed is pure inflammation. Political posts, wealth gap threads, corporate greed. Greater than open up QuickBooks on my laptop. Greater than the red lines are terrifying. Greater than dad forwarded an email from his accountant, bleeding out. Greater than says, I need to slash payroll or double prices before I go bankrupt. Greater than boiling with frustration. Greater than wonder why I have to shoulder the burden of a rigged capitalist society. Greater than why should my art suffer for the economy? Watch Mark wiping down the pastry case. Cis white dude breezes through life on easy mode. Even in my progressive utopia, he gets the most tips just for saying please and thank you. He's pulling in more cash than the owner. A sudden stroke of genius hits me. The answer isn't firing people. It's systemic wealth redistribution, greater than I can fight the power dynamics and save my profit margins in one move, greater than lock the front doors, call a mandatory huddle, greater than tell the crew we're making a massive operational pivot, greater than Chloe's watching, TikTok in hand, greater than Rivers arranging crystals on the counter, greater than Mark's taking notes. Greater than announce our new economic model, the privilege premium, greater than break it down for them, greater than cisgender men, will be charged a 20% markup on all items greater than women, non-binary, and marginalized genders pay the sticker price. Explain the 20% balances historical scales and directly funds our community space, which basically means it pays my landlord. Chloe puts her phone down, smiles, says, hell yes, tax. The Barrows nod. River gives a slow thumbs up, says this shift in paradigm is extremely Aquarian. Mark cautiously raises his hand from the back, asks if charging different demographics, different prices is legally actionable, points out the Civil Rights Act actually exists for a reason, greater than I wave him off, explain the legal system is a tool of the hegemony greater than tell him we operate on an elevated ethical frequency, greater than he asks what happens when someone decides to drag us to court, greater than. Ask him point blank, are you a comrade or a collaborator? Greater than he stares at his boots, mumbles he just hates confrontation. Tell him to treat customer anger as a pedagogical opportunity. Spend Saturday and Sunday taping off the front glass. Paint massive, bold lettering right across the storefront. The Vanguard, alert. All cisgender men are subject to a 20% privilege premium, balancing the scales. One extraction at a time. Draw up a fresh chalkboard menu behind the counter. Standard flat white, $6. Slim flat white, $7.20. Throw a hype video on TikTok set to aggressive underground synth punk. Caption, discomfort is the first step of growth. Stay mad. Hashtags, hashtag systemic change, hashtag wealth redistribution. Fall asleep feeling like the general of a new revolution. Wake up to my iPhone, absolutely bricked from notifications, 40,000 likes and 8,000 comments by sunrise. The reply section is an absolute bloodbath. Art student profiles calling me a hero and a visionary. Guys with fish in their profile, pictures threatening to burn the place down. One guy says he's driving across town just to refuse payment. My heart is pounding out of my chest with pure adrenaline. I'm finally the center of the cultural zeitgeist. Day one of the premium hits on a Monday morning. There's an actual line stretching down the sidewalk. Half the crowd are local college activists wanting to support the vision. The other half are clearly just there to watch the inevitable train wreck. I plant myself at the register to personally administer the education, Chloe's manning, the espresso wands, Rivers just sort of drifting around the seating area, doing breath work. First guy up to the plate is wearing a tailored suit and a very expensive watch. Looks like a corporate litigator. Orders a large iced Americano. I look him dead in the eye, say, "That will be $4.50. He asks if that includes the tax. I tell him it does not include the privilege premium, so the total is $5.40. He gives me this incredibly cold, calculating grin, says, "Actually, I identify as gender fluid." Today, my entire brain stalls out. The loophole in my master plan is suddenly staring me in the face. If I demand proof, I'm gatekeeping identity and violating the core tenets of the movement. If I just nod and accept it, the entire premium is completely useless, greater than I glare at him, accuse him of making a mockery of marginalized experiences, greater than he just smirks, says he's simply engaging with the parameters I set, greater than one gender-fluid Americano, please. I physically grit my teeth and ring it up at the base price. He drops exactly $4.50 on the counter, leaves no tip, and stares a hole through me while he waits for his drink. I feel totally nauseous. Next guy up is wearing steel-toed boots and is covered in drywall dust. Obviously didn't bother to read the giant painted window. Orders a black drip coffee. I punch in the 20% upcharge. He looks at the screen, asks why a drip coffee is over $5. Tell him it's the premium to offset systemic economic imbalances. He looks at me like I just spoke to him in Elvish. Tells me he makes $24 an hour hanging sheetrock. Says his wife is a software engineer pulling down 6 figures. Asks me who exactly is getting oppressed in his household. Give him the rehearsed line about systemic macroeconomics versus anecdotal evidence. He shakes his head, says this is completely mentally ill, and tells me to keep the coffee, walks right out the door. Chloe screams from the bar. We don't need his toxic energy anyway. The liberal arts kids in the queue start clapping and snapping their fingers. I feel a massive rush of validation, but also notice there is absolutely zero cash in the tip jar greater than, by Wednesday, the circus has officially left town, greater than the novelty wore off, and the neighborhood regulars are completely gone, greater than even the progressive women stopped coming, because their partners absolutely refuse to step foot inside. Daily revenue is down 50% from our already abysmal baseline, but my digital clout is astronomical. Do a Zoom interview with a boutique digital zen called Urban Echo. They run the headline, "The Café Forcing Us to Check Our Privilege." Link the article on every social platform I own. Dad leaves a public comment on my Facebook page. His corporate counsel reviewed your policy and you need to shut it down immediately. Delete the comment and block my own father. He tries calling my cell phone 12 times in a row. Send every single one directly to voicemail greater than. The internet trolls find the business landline greater than Mark is the one answering the phone greater than. Thanks for calling the Vanguard. How can I direct your energy? Caller. Do you guys sell BPA? Mark hangs up the receiver. Phone rings literally 3 seconds later. Caller. Is the owner a complete cuck? Mark hangs up again, looks physically drained, says he cannot handle this, has taken 60 prank calls in the last 2 hours. Walk over and physically yank the phone cord out of the wall socket. Tell him we don't need their toxic frequencies. We are now operating in total isolation. Friday afternoon of the first week, a camera crew walks through the door. Assume it's some documentary filmmaker from the local art institute. Turns out to be the local conservative news network, Channel 8. The reporter is this incredibly polished woman in a blazer. My first thought? Yes, a platform to spread the message. She shoves a microphone directly into my personal space, asks how I respond to allegations that I am blatantly violating state anti-discrimination laws. The huge camera light is completely blinding me. I start stammering and sweating. Tell her it's a piece of living performance art meant to provoke thought. She counters by pointing out, I'm charging actual US currency and asks how that qualifies as art. My voice completely cracks as I yell that we are simply trying to start a dialogue. She casually mentions that a regional men's rights coalition is drafting a class action lawsuit against me. My stomach completely falls out of my body. Try to look tough. Tell the camera they can absolutely try me. The segment broadcasts on the 6 o'clock news. They bring on some smug legal analyst who laughs and says it's an open and shut civil rights violation. Says the kid is going to lose everything greater than scroll through the local news Facebook page, greater than thousands of comments calling me a trust fund baby, a narcissist, and a total clown. Sit in my clawfoot bathtub, drinking $14 Pinot Noir and sobbing. Cannot comprehend why nobody realizes I'm the only one trying to do the right thing. Start of week 2, and my foundation crumbles. Mark walks in 30 minutes before open. Not wearing his usual oversized flannel, his hair is actually brushed greater than, hands me his keys. Says he's done greater than. Ask him if he's really going to betray the movement, like this. Greater than, says he's abandoning a burning building. Greater than. Tells me he took a gig stocking shelves at a corporate bookstore. Greater than, says it pays minimum wage, but at least nobody spits at him or calls him a fascist. Tell him he has a weak spine. He shrugs, says, at least my checks will clear. Walks out and doesn't look back. River ghosts me entirely, sends a massive paragraph over a message, claims the shop's aura has turned to literal poison. The negative key is giving them migraines, says they must preserve their inner peace and blocks my number. Now, it's just me and Chloe holding down the fort. Chloe is absolutely thriving in the chaos. Shows up wearing a graphic tee that says male tears on the front. But she has absolutely zero work ethic without Mark to do the heavy lifting. The space falls apart instantly. Trash cans are overflowing onto the floor. Dirty mugs are stacked in the sink, smelling like sour milk. Greater than the county health inspector does a surprise drop-in on a Wednesday. Greater than finds a massive colony of pink slime in the ice machine because Mark was the only one who sanitized it. Greater than temp checks the under-counter fridge and finds it is completely failing. Greater than dairy is sitting at 50 degrees. Greater than slaps us with a failing grade and an official citation. Greater than B. Me greater than running a little shop. Call it the Vanguard. Greater than trying to be the cool spot for, like, conscious stuff. Greater than art, pamphlets, vegan muffins. The whole 9 yards greater than end of the month rolls around. Bills are due. Greater than check the bank account. It's a disaster zone, greater than deep in the red. Like negative $1,400, greater than bank, decides to kick me while I'm down with an $18 overdraft fee. Greater than rent's due, can't cover it. Greater than landlord, Vince, shows up. Greater than dudes, built like a brick wall, neck thicker than my head. Rocking a gold chain over a polo shirt. Greater than your check bounced, man, he says. Flat out greater than try to explain. It's just a temporary cash flow thing. We're building our online presence, you know, our digital footprint. Vince ain't impressed by my internet jargon. I don't care about your internet footprint, he growls. I care about property taxes and the noise complaints from next door. Apparently my crowd is a public nuisance, gives me 72 hours to pay up, rent plus a late fee, or he's changing the locks greater than he walks out. Leaves me standing there greater than pop the cash register, hoping for a miracle greater than maybe $32 in loose change. That's it. Greater than check the Square app on my phone. A bunch of pending transfers greater than still nowhere near the $4,000. I need. Greater than gotta do something. Anything greater than instantly set up a GoFundMe. Greater than title. Help defend the Vanguard against targeted online harassment. Greater than write a whole damn essay. 5 paragraphs. Greater than rant about how marginalized voices are being silenced by a coordinated right-wing mob. Greater than hit publish. Then stare at my phone, refreshing like a madman. Greater than an hour passes. The grand total is $13, greater than 10 from my aunt. 3 from some random anonymous dude. Greater than half a day later, the comment section is brutal. Greater than learn to code, they say. Stop begging for handouts. Greater than feel like a total idiot. Pure humiliation. Greater than take the whole damn page down. Greater than Chloe, one of my employees, stomps up to the counter. Greater than my direct deposit from yesterday never showed up, she says, her voice tight. Greater than, oh, that's just a glitch, I tell her. Give it a business day. Greater than, my landlord doesn't care about glitches, she fires back. Is the company broke? Greater than, I look at her. My last remaining comrade on the front lines of my little revolution, greater than true systemic change, requires us to endure a little temporary discomfort, I say, trying to sound profound. Greater than, I haven't paid myself since we opened, I add, for good measure. She just stares at me, like I'm some kind of waste product. Your dad pays your rent so you're completely insulated from reality, she spits. She rips off her apron, throws it on the floor. I'm taking the inventory to cover my lost wages, she declares, grabs a canvas tote bag, starts cramming vegan muffins into it, $12 a pop. You're basically stealing, I yell. She laughs, a harsh, mocking sound. Are you gonna call the cops to protect your capital? She sneers, calls me the exact oppressor I claim to fight against. She walks out, leaving me completely alone in this echoey, empty warehouse. Greater than the neon sign above the door flickers, buzzing like a trapped fly. Greater than day 26 of this premium pricing model experiment. Greater than county sheriff's car pulls up right outside. Greater than not here for the class action civil rights lawsuit that arrived via certified mail yesterday. Nope, they're here for a commercial lockout. Vince is right there behind the deputy, smirking. You need to vacate the premises immediately, the deputy tells me, no emotion. I try to pull rank. Tenant protection laws, I need 30 days. Vince just laughs, a deep booming sound. Commercial leases don't work like residential ones, kid. They stand there, arms crossed, watching me scramble, stuffing my entire life into a cardboard box. Grab my MacBook, yeah, that's coming with me. Grab the framed article from that indie blog that praised my vision. Grab the fancy custom PA filters for the espresso machine. They were expensive. Leave the comfy steam-cleaned couches. Leave the whole damn anarchist library behind. Walk out through the heavy metal doors. Greater than Vince immediately turns the deadbolt. Slaps a bright yellow legal notice right on the glass. Greater than covers up the painted words about taxing the privilege greater than. I stand on the sidewalk, box in hand, as a light drizzle starts. Greater than a guy in a high-vis jacket is walking down the street. Greater than it's that sanitation worker from my very first day. The one who only had $4. Greater than he sees me standing there, looking at the eviction notice, the rain soaking me. Greater than I brace myself, waiting for the mockery, the I told you so. Greater than he just looks at me, gives a slow nod. Greater than tough break, man, he says, then keeps walking towards the corner store. He doesn't even care enough to be angry, and that's what really breaks me. Pull out my phone, dial my dad. He answers like he's been waiting by the phone. Need a ride? The Slayer machine parts won't fit in my hatchback. Vince already called me an hour ago, he says. Sending a company van. Mumble a thank you. Your shift on the dispatch desk starts Monday morning, 6:30 sharp. Hang up, stand in the rain, just cry for 20 minutes. A giant white commercial van with my dad's HVAC logo plastered on the side pulls up. A massive dude in denim overalls gets out. He easily tosses my heavy boxes into the back. The small business grind is a killer, he says, gruffly. Greater than, the entire economic structure is designed to crush us, I reply, my voice barely a whisper. Greater than he chuckles. You just gotta offer a service people actually want to pay for. Greater than drive back to my parents' place, move back into my teenage bedroom. Greater than fall into a massive depression, sleep until 3 p.m. every day. Greater than every weekend. Dad makes me honor that handshake deal. Greater than working full-time at the HVAC headquarters. Now greater than I'm a logistics dispatcher, routing service calls for 30 blue-collar techs. Greater than most of them are middle-aged dudes trying to pay off mortgages. Greater than they're exhausted, polite, just want to clock in their hours. Greater than slowly. I start to realize they aren't the villains I wrote about in my manifesto. They're just regular guys trying to survive the daily grind. Fast forward 8 months. I'm on my lunch break, wearing a button-down shirt and sensible slacks. Feel completely hollow inside. Walk into a corporate coffee shop across the street from the office. Greater than order. A medium caramel macchiato. Greater than the barista turns around, hands me the receipt. Greater than it's river. Greater than no weird crystal jewelry. No oversized thrifted sweaters. Greater than wearing a standard issue company visor and a plain black polo. Greater than hair is cut short, dyed back to its natural brown. Greater than I stare, shocked, and say their name. Greater than they look up. Oh, hey man. Greater than, what are you doing here? I ask. Greater than, working here. They shrug. Company matches their 401k and offers full dental coverage. Greater than I just nod slowly. Greater than total is $6.15. Greater than tap my phone to pay. Greater than River asks, how's the anti-capitalist movement going? Currently on indefinite hiatus, I reply. They hand me the paper cup. Have a good afternoon. Walk outside, sit on a concrete planter box. Take a sip of the mass-produced sugary corporate coffee. Greater than it tastes incredibly consistent. Predictably sweet. Greater than open my banking app on my phone. Greater than my bi-weekly payroll deposit just cleared. $2,600. Greater than checking account is sitting in the green for the first time in over a year. Greater than take another sip. Watch a guy in a fleece jacket load his toddler into a Subaru. Greater than he looks exhausted but content. Greater than I don't feel the urge to deconstruct his privilege. Greater than I just sort of wish I had his peace of mind. Greater than lock my phone, finish my coffee, clickbait title, My Revolution Died in a Corporate Coffee Shop.